This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. This is episode 399. Big 400 next week, baby. Y'all want to tune in for this. Sounds like we already got things in the work. Maybe we'll have a couple guests. Maybe we'll have one guest. Maybe we'll have no guests. Who the hell knows? Things just kind of get thrown at the wall and whatever sticks. But episode 400 promises to be the biggest blowout yet. Doc was kicking around the idea of maybe a Zoom call, maybe some video to go along with this. Speaking of the Doc, what's up, cuz?
It's all good. Battling a little bit of laryngitis, but I'm feeling good, a lot better than I did just 24 hours ago. I'm excited. So much to talk about. Every single day, there is news happening in the world of the NFL, world of the Lions. I can't wait to talk about it. Get to give you some credit in the second half of the podcast. The Wolverines in the Sweet 16, the only team in the Big Ten that stood tall and was able to win 2 games in the tournament. So kudos to Juwan Howard and the Michigan Wolverines. But we got to talk about it. On Wednesday, it was announced that Jared Goff's contract got renegotiated, and a lot of people are talking about it, cuz I'm really interested to get your take. Did they make a mistake? Because it tells everybody, cuz I know, pretty much the Lions are not taking a quarterback at number 7.
I mean, does it tell us that, though? Does it really tell us that? Look, I think you might be reading too much into it. I think what they did was a fantastic move by restructuring his contract. They end up saving, $15 million in cap space by turning it all into a giant signing bonus for this man. We both agree he's going to be here for the next 2 years. So what harm does it do to restructure his contract, get yourself a little bit more cap space so you can add to this team, which we both agreed this team needed to be flipped. The entire roster needed to be reshuffled and moved in, moved out, moved all around. It had to be brand new going into the 2021 season. So you restructure Goff's contract, save yourself a little bit of money on the back end as far as your cap space goes. You lose a little bit of money on the front end with a signing bonus for the man, but it's no big deal. I think what they did by releasing a guy like Chase Daniels, really not committing to anybody as your backup quarterback. I mean, who's the backup quarterback? Who's the guy from Green Bay? What's his name? He threw 4 passes his entire career. What's his name? Tell me his name again.
Colt Tim Boyle. That's the guy, man.
Okay, there you go. Like, I don't even know this guy's name. That's how much of a non-factor he is. You mean to tell me you can't go out and draft a quarterback at 7 who could be your backup quarterback over that guy? If you tell me yes, you are absolutely lying.
Well, I'll say this. Here's the reason why, and it lays out perfectly. The dead cap to let go of Jared Goff after 2021 is $30.5 million. So that means if you draft a quarterback, you're going to have him sit for potentially 2 years. The idea, cuz, is the reason why teams have been successful is they draft a young quarterback, they get him in right away, and they maximize 4 to 5 years of a team around him when he's cheap. If the Lions go about and do it this year, they're basically going to lop off 50% of the time that potentially they could use him when his number is low. So in essence, you're going to start a guy and only get 3 years out of him when you could potentially get 5. It doesn't make sense that way. And I don't think Brad Holmes rolls that way. I think it's pretty much, I think right now, until I see reason to believe he's bluffing, there's not a quarterback in this draft that you want to select and let sit for 2 years when you can build up a roster, see Goff in 2 years. It's a fair assessment. It's like a reward for Goff coming over here.
Bro, and sure there is.
And then
absolutely is.
You draft it next year when you got capital to maybe even move up if you need be. You don't do it this year.
Here's the deal. There is absolutely a guy that you could take and let him sit for 2 years to watch him develop. His name's Mac Jones. Mac Jones is a guy you could take. You're not going to take him at 7, but if you trade back, which I think we both believe the Detroit Lions are positioning themselves to where they could trade back, acquire a few more picks to really add to this team. But you could move back to, we'll say, 15, right, with New England, familiar trade partner to the Detroit Lions, especially the last couple seasons. You can move back to there. You could grab Mac Jones because he'll probably be the only quarterback available if this front office feels that there's some talent there that will become your franchise quarterback. Mac Jones is a prime candidate to sit for at least a year and a half, and then you'll get 3.5 years out of him, and then you can re-sign him to a deal. Go the whole Aaron Rodgers way. It worked out pretty good for Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, but that's before what people have been doing. That's not the plan that people have been doing to success. And I don't think the Lions are doing it. I think the Lions have more needs. They're rolling with Jared Goff. He's the guy.
I will say this.
I think you did lower the value potentially of the number 7 pick because people do know. Now, I think it's the right move because there's no problem in saying we're not taking a quarterback because we have other needs. That's just the facts.
Yeah. And we both agree this team isn't going to be any good next year, right?
Absolutely.
You're on board with me with that.
No chance.
So,
no chance.
I think they have a better shot next year without having really any skilled players anywhere on this team of being in a better draft position going into the draft in 2022 than they are currently in 2021. So I don't think it hurts them at all by restructuring his deal, not drafting a quarterback this year, by possibly trying to position themselves to move back, or at 7, taking whoever the best player available is to add to this roster, because this roster it's pretty low on talent, to be quite frank. So I don't think they did anything bad. I don't think they really showed a hand. I think what they did was something that you're seeing a lot of teams do. They're trying to position themselves to maximize as much cap space as possible, because with COVID and everything that happened with them having to roll back the salary cap, it puts teams in a bit of a bind. And I think the Detroit Lions have done a fantastic job navigating that. Brad Holmes is great really at this, because it's not just Jared Goff that they've restructured his contract and moved everything up into a signing bonus. It's other guys on the defense, it's other guys on the offense. It's guys getting let go like a Kenny Galladay, because you can't work out a situation to sign them. So I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I don't see an issue with it. I think this works out just fine for the Detroit Lions. I think it positions them in a really good spot.
What am I dealing with? What am I dealing with? A Lions apologist here? This is all wrong. You could have just played it out, see if Jared Goff is a winner. If he doesn't show you what you need, you could have lopped him off.
You don't have any cap space for this year.
No,
if you're going to go out and add guys and add pieces, because you still have to field a roster. They don't have enough guys to field a roster right now.
But isn't that what we want? So we can get the top 5 picks, so that if there's another baller quarterback, winning's not important.
Absolutely.
Winning is the lowest priority. What I'm saying is you now have to keep Jared Goff.
Guys to go out there and play their position.
No,
you can't run out there and run with 9 guys.
You can roll out there with nobody. I mean, look at the players that they've signed on Wednesday. People you've never heard of. So what I'm saying is you could have left and lopped off Jared Goff after 2021 free and clear and been done with it. Now you're tied with him for 2021 and 2022, guaranteed. It's done, locked in. By doing this, you now have your quarterback for the next 2 years. What I'm saying is the alternative strategy could have been not do this, keep making these small moves, or just go with nobody at all. You know what I mean? Or you go to Trey Flowers, or you go to somebody else. You lop off somebody that unfortunately you didn't want to, and you get the extra $5 million in cap space, and you sign a bunch of veteran minimum deals. Look, nobody expects more than 5 wins. Nobody expects anything out of 2021. So to take the $15 million just to operate, I understand you needed to do it, but unfortunately, it's a situation.
Did you expect anything in 2022, though? Like honestly, be honest with yourself. There's no way you expected anything in 2022.
Now with potentially a top 5 pick, an additional first rounder, and 3 to 4 comp picks, you could have 10 picks, and that would make 16 picks in 2 years. You don't think that a good general manager in 2 years? I'm not saying good. I'm saying 8 wins after 2 draft classes?
Okay, but where does 8 wins get you, though? 8 wins get you on the outside of the playoffs, still looking in. You're still not in a position to win yet, and that's what I'm saying. That's my whole point. Jared Goff was going to be your quarterback no matter what. Well, he was your quarterback for the next 2 years the moment he got traded here. He was your quarterback the moment that the Rams and the Detroit Lions agreed to swap quarterbacks, and the Rams set a buttload of picks over. He was your quarterback for 2 seasons. There was no bones about it. No way you were shaking him.
Well, that's the reason for the angst. That's the reason for a lot of people being upset, because there was hope that he was just the 1 year bridge and not the 2 year bridge. We'll see. He can shut everybody up with one good year and playing better than what people think.
You'll know better than me. But I think even after the 2021 season, you were still looking at paying quite a bit of dead cap money in 2022 if you cut him. So I think they just, you had to get through 2022 to avoid any of the cap issues. It's in 2023 that you avoid all of the cap issues.
No.
So he's your quarterback for 2 years, man. They just made the best out of a bad deal.
Yeah, they helped themselves. They kicked the can down the road. They did, spread out the hit over the course of the contract, but you're going to have to pay up. And it's certain now. It's locked. You're going to have Jared Goff as your quarterback. So I'm curious, what did you make of his presser? Because I walked away with two reactions. I asked him point blank, how did it feel to get traded, which I thought he gave his best answer and was one of the best questions I felt that was asked. And he said, it puts a chip on my shoulder. Now, another question that I asked first, I kind of didn't feel the vibe of the reaction that I was looking for. I asked him, how often does he think of the loss in the Super Bowl, and does he use that for motivation moving forward? And he said he doesn't kind of think about it in that regard. He said he views it as it happened 2-3 years ago. He's moved on from it. He's thought about it enough, but he took it as, here are some things I could take away from it so that if I get back there again, I can learn about changing my routines, doing some things different so that I could perform better. While I thought that was a very professional, well-crafted answer on the spot, I was looking for a little bit more like, I think about it every day. I want to get back there. It burns me. It's something where I was right there close to the biggest, most ultimate prize in sports, and I was just short and we didn't execute. So it bothers me. It burns me. So he gave the PC answer, and maybe it still does. He didn't want to share it, but that was the answer I was looking for, to see his competitiveness. And then I'm tuning in, just waking up on a random morning, and NFL Network went ham on the man and called him human hummus, which I thought I was uniquely, in a position to understand what it meant. And then they elaborated, basically saying like, okay, in the pantheon of dips, hummus is good if it's there, but it's not something where a lot of people universally are going to clamor for it and be like, oh, let me go out and get the hummus. No, I understand in the power rankings, it's third or fourth behind Mexican dip and salsa and ranch and French onion dip. I get it. It's fourth or fifth. First in my world, but fifth in the country. So I understand it perfectly, the metaphor. But I kind of felt the same thing. Calm, cool, collected. Another kind of suit quarterback that, he said, I got a chip on my shoulder, but it kind of felt like, man, is that the guy that's going to scream at Kerryon Johnson or DeAndre Swift? Is that the guy that's going to fire up everybody? Now, Dan Campbell says that he loves his quiet confidence, but to me, my first impression was, oh, man, you got yourself another California kid, a young man that's just here to take a bunch of big money and knows the situation, and he's going to do the best, but is he going to raise his game to the proverbial next level? Is he going to live and die to make the Lions win? I didn't get that from his first presser.
Yeah, and look, I think there's some similarities between Jared Goff and Matt Stafford, and some of the things that really drove us nuts about Matt Stafford you're going to see with Jared Goff. He's kind of a laid-back guy. He's kind of has that West Coast personality where
hummus,
never too high, never too low. He's just kind of float with the wind, which that's not the guy we necessarily like. Not necessarily the guy that we want. We want a guy who's in your face, demanding, chewing tax, spitting nails. You want that guy who's a bit like a Tom Brady, right? Like Tom Brady is very PC when he's at the mic, but when he's on the field, he's revved up, man. He's in guys' faces. Aaron Rodgers the same way. I think we both agree. Aaron Rodgers, the way he conducts himself in both the media and on the side of the field, I think we both think is kind of what we're looking for here. We want a guy who has a little bit of I don't know if passion's the right word, but for lack of a better term, you want a guy who kind of shows that he wants it. He's got that fighter. He wants to win, and it's going to take everything in his power to basically get it done. But I think you're right. I think he does have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, and I think that will serve him well. his 2 years that he's here, because make no bones about it, he's your quarterback for the next 2 years.
Like one of our supporters said on Twitter at Detroit Podcast, not even the hummus with garlic, just the plain, bland, simple garlic that you dip the toast in. And it's like, exactly. I said, you guys are right on. You're feeling me. You understand the point of these questions. And unfortunately, I feel bad ultimately for the man, because he could have had Galladay and Marvin Jones. Instead, that wide receiving core is really, really bad. Tyrell Williams, you look at Brashad Perriman, there's going to be more speed and separation, but I don't see enough where you go, wow, someone on the Lions receiving core is going to tear this game open. I'm seeing runs, tight ends, and just a lot of crossing routes and intermediate stuff to get these guys open, small separation, hopefully, and then maybe the addition of a burner, maybe in Devonta Smith or Jamar Chase, and then you got yourself a team that's competitive. But really, I look at the approach in free agency, and guys, look, it's great. Hope season, I understand it. I love your guys' passion, but every guy from the Saints, every guy from the Rams is not even going to make the roster. The guys that they signed on Wednesday are not even probably going to make the roster, guys. Come on. They're one-year deals. They're prove-it deals. Basically, what's happened, and unfortunately, you're seeing it now, the team's going to build through the draft. Free agency, like you said earlier, is going to fill out the roster. None of the moves are like, wow. They're all like, okay, roster-filling moves. And unfortunately, you got worse. You don't get better as a team losing Matthew Stafford and losing Kenny Galladay. He got paid. He found the one sucker GM in the league, which everyone felt like, if nobody's going to pay him $18 million, why did Dave Gettleman of the Giants pay him that? He found the sucker, and he sold him on it, and he got paid. But the Lions, in terms of their wide receivers, are not as good. And unfortunately, you look at it and you say, okay, whether it be by design or based on how the free agency period shook out, you got a lot of Saints and Rams on this roster.
Yeah, and look, this is something I think you said the very first week that we had the press conference with Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. There's going to be a lot of Rams, going to be a lot of Saints, because there's so many holes on this roster. You've got to try to fill them out as quickly as possible with guys you know, and those are guys they're familiar with. The good thing is this coaching staff comes from a lot of different places, right? So there's going to be different flavors, different tastes, and you're kind of seeing it, right? So Terrell Williams, obviously a Chargers guy, right? He came from the Raiders, but before that he was with the Chargers, and he was with the offensive coordinator. So what you're going to have is you're going to have this weird mix of players coming in and going out. And you're right. Kenny Galladay did sucker Dave Gettleman. Dave Gettleman's a horrible GM. He's absolute trash. But Jared Goff is in a bit of a precarious situation because he doesn't have a very good wide receiving room. So what are you going to do? He's going to have to come in. He's going to have to make the best of it. It's going to be, like you said, a lot of underneath stuff, and that's what he excels at. He excels at those underneath short passes. So it'll be a lot of that things. I think the way this offense is going to work is it's going to be tailored to fit what he does, because you don't have the pieces to really get things done the way you would like to get them done. I think we both agree. We like stretching the field. We like big bombs. We like guys who can go deep, get separation, and then walk into the end zone. This isn't going to be that. This is going to be basically the equivalent of Tecmo Bowl, right? For Nintendo, not even like Super Tecmo Bowl. Like, it's just going to be Tecmo Bowl. It's going to be handoffs. It's going to be halfback dives, and it's going to be screen passes, and it's going to be short crossing routes to get guys open. And then you're just going to look to pick up a whole bunch of yards after the catch. That's how it's going to work. And they're going to look to possess the ball, and they're going to look to put points on the board, and then the defense can come in and try to make a stop. They're going to be bad. It's okay. Like, I don't understand why is everybody rushing for this team to be good? This team just hit the reset button. So, like, everybody just calm the fuck down. Like, for real. Just calm down, because they're going to be bad for the next 2 years. It's okay.
No,
Jared Goff's going to be your quarterback for the next 2 years.
Very good.
And that's okay.
Very good. You led me into my thought, which is on Twitter on Wednesday afternoon. I said, okay, patience check. The reason why people aren't patient is because of the fact that it's been damn near 6 decades. 6 decades, I know, and it's going to be hard. And many people, okay, cousin, and it's very true. And I think you and I are right there on the pulse of where the fans are at. prior to free agency, there was a little bit of hope that, okay, there's going to be some freshness, there's going to be some newness. It's going to be a 1-year situation. Then in 2022, it'll be a lot better. Okay? Now, when you see actually, oh, what did they do in free agency? Okay. What are they going to do in the draft? Okay. How really bad are they going to be? Really bad. That indicates 2021 is going to suck, and probably 2022 is going to be average at best, 8-9 wins. Okay, so where people are at with it is that, man, we got to wait until year 3, until 10 wins. I think year 2, right now, the temperature is off. He can do whatever. Dan Campbell can yuck it up. All the free agents can joke about people's mustaches and how old they are, and everybody's happy. Next year, in 2022, it's not going to cut it. They're going to expect a lot of progress, and because you're going to have potentially 20 new players. So while they should definitely enjoy their free year, but I don't think beyond that, Jared Goff, people will turn on him quickly if he's a quarterback that throws 14 touchdowns and 11 interceptions moving forward. So in my opinion, enjoy the free year. Enjoy what you got to do. I understand the notion of role players and guys that are culture guys, because we've heard this before. Remember, we podcasted all through the Jim Caldwell era, and we said, "Cuz, where's the talent?" That's the number one question that the fans are looking at is, where's the talent? And the talent is mostly on the offense, but you got a couple pieces on defense. But many people realize, okay, you don't have anybody as good as Aaron Jones or as Devontae Adams. Nobody. And nobody is as good as an aging Aaron Rodgers. So in that respect, everybody knows the truth. And I think that's the good thing is we speak the truth, we understand. But people's patience, I don't think you have to tell people to be patient. I think it's very fair for those that don't have it to want things to speed up, because they did see, because remember, when Sean McVay rolled up there in LA, they were not good. Change the staff, boom. He comes in, double-digit wins his first year, revolutionizes the game, and plays an offense that people are excited to see. So it can turn around quickly. But in Detroit, it's not being sold that way, which is very, very fair. 6 years for Dan Campbell. So I understand fully what the Lions are trying to do, but unfortunately right now they've lopped off a lot of talent and haven't replaced it. They haven't replaced it with young, hungry talent. They've got older veterans, and that's unfortunately what you get when you're a rebuilding team. This is what you get. You don't get the pick of the litter. You get what you get, and that's just the way it is. So I don't mind those that are not patient. I mean, damn, the Lions' history is just always going to be around. It never goes away. It never will. It never should. Never.
It shouldn't. But here's the thing, right? Over those, would you say 60 years? When have they ever hit the reset button and done like a full cleanse? Like really just dumped it all, scraped it down to the bare bones and said, we're going to start over. This is the first time. Yeah, it's going to be painful, and yeah, it's going to suck for a little bit, but this is the first time. Like, you can't tell me that you're not more confident with this front office and this coaching staff than you were with the last one. And I know that's not saying a whole hell of a lot, because the last one, the guy was a complete boob. He had guys out there practicing in the snow when they didn't play outside for 4 or 5 weeks. So I get that. Okay. I understand. It's like comparing it to the one kid who drools on himself and needs to be in a helmet to, I don't know, somebody who can't write well. Whatever. All right. But the thing is, they're doing it the right way. They're doing what other teams have done in the past to get good. Like a team that I absolutely love, the Cleveland Browns. I love the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland did something very similar, scrapped it all down, and then started to rebuild it. And look at where Cleveland's at now. Cleveland is regularly one of the more difficult divisions in all of football. They're competing, okay? What was it, last year? 2 years ago, they were just outside of the playoffs. They missed the playoffs on week 17, and it was a loss, I think, to Pittsburgh. This year, they end up beating Pittsburgh in the playoffs. You know, they're going in the right direction. Give it time. 2 years. By the end of 2 years, you're going to know what this team's going to be, because Jared Goff won't be here. And then that wide receiving room, it's going to look totally different. And that defense, you're going to end up losing big saddle-bagging contracts like Trey Flowers, who are just sucking up air and sucking up space and sucking up cap space and dollars and not giving you any performance. It's going to be different. And the way you have to do this, you talk about not having any talent anywhere. Where do you get that talent? You get that talent through the draft. And you can't tell me that this team isn't going in the right direction as far as the draft goes, right? I mean, we just talked about how they're acquiring picks, and that was part of your problem with them in 2022. They're going to have all these draft picks, and it's okay that they don't get a quarterback this year. So they're doing things the right way. It's going to take time. You can't hit the fast forward button. Like, you can't. There's nothing you can do. You just got to go through this. And these are the growing pains. You're going to suck, and it's okay. Embrace the suck. For real. Embrace the suck. It's going to be cool because next year, be drafting at 3. Be drafting at 5. Maybe if we're the worst team in the NFL, we'll be drafting at 1. And you know what that means? There's your quarterback. There's your franchise.
Is there any player that left that really you believe was a surprise or somebody that's going to come back to haunt the Lions? I'm really surprised that Miles Killebrew wasn't a Detroit Lion after this. I felt like he was somebody that was productive, somebody that was in the mix, and somebody that I felt like the new coaching staff might have taken and molded in a different way. Everybody else that's left, thank goodness, they've lopped it off. Obviously, it sucks to lose Marvin Jones, Kenny Galladay, but Miles Killebrew to me was a surprise. Jamal Agnew, that was stupid money. Jacksonville was like, Darrell Bell was like, get him and pay him. And they're like, okay. And he went home and he went to his former offensive coordinator, and so did Marvin Jones. But I don't believe that you're going to lose a whole heck of a lot. You can basically replace his production with a veteran. And so I think that Miles Killebrew you're going to miss because he was a special teams ace and somebody I thought that could have had a future on defense if you molded him properly. Could have been a role player for your team.
Mine was actually Jamal Agnew. I just think he's so damn talented. I don't think he's cut out to be a wide receiver, but I think on special teams and kick returns, punt returns, he's just too damn talented. Like, he's a Pro Bowl punt return guy. Like, those guys just don't necessarily grow on trees. Like, there are guys out there who are good, but not Pro Bowl caliber. And he was one of those guys. Now, I wouldn't sign him to a ridiculous contract. Of course, everything has to make sense, but he was the only guy who I was kind of like, oh, well, that kind of sucks. I wish he would have stayed. But other than that, no. This team, it needed to be gutted. A lot of these guys had to go away, and I'm okay with that.
Okay, yeah, I think it's, overall, what would you grade free agency so far? Solid B, I think we've talked about it. Okay, nothing too great, nothing too special. I don't think a C+ from CBS Sports was fair. I think good enough to get by and put yourself in a position to target what you need in the draft. You know what you're going to get. Probably a player in the secondary, probably a linebacker, probably a player on the defensive line, probably maybe a role player on offense and in depth on the offensive line. You kind of know where this is going with the draft, but now I want to see who they pick and do they fight for additional draft capital.
Yeah, I would give it a B. I think a solid B. Because, again, it all has to make sense for this team and where this team's at and where this team is going. And this team is trying to clear some cap space up. They're trying to condense some contracts and restructure a lot of guys' contracts. And then they're looking to grab a couple guys on short-term contracts. So when they do get good, they have the cap space and they have the flexibility to be able to add pieces that are going to impact this roster. So I like what they're doing. I think this has been a good offseason for the Detroit Lions. I don't think they've had a misstep yet. I think it's been actually really, really quality. Again, the only thing I would question out of all of it was something we talked about last week, and that was the Romeo Oruwariye deal. And again, I liked him as a player. I wanted him to sign here. I just wasn't really comfortable giving him the money that they gave him, but they see something in him and they think that he's going to earn that contract. So I'm willing to sit back and watch that for the next 3 years.
Nice. All right, let's switch gears. Let's talk about the first week of the tournament because NCAA tournament was awesome. I thought it was cool. A lot of upsets, and I know some people are talking about the sheer number of upsets, but I think it makes it fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you had to ask me what's the best part of the tournament, it's watching the higher seeds get popped by the lower seeds. I think that's one of the things that makes the tournament so great. I think it's one of the things that everybody loves about the tournament. So, look, I think the tournament's been highly entertaining. I think it's been great. I think the way that they put this together has been really, really good. I find it interesting, though, that you've had so many low seeds come up and pop guys who are supposed to be contenders this year. Like Illinois is a prime example of a team that I was surprised that got beat. It's weird. Like, Illinois, I think, is part of the problem here and is part of the conversation we're going to have because the Big Ten seems to be severely overrated this year. So absolutely overrated, which I don't know, crazy to me. But at the same point, we didn't really see anybody from the Big Ten really play anybody else because of everything going on with COVID. So watching them beat up on each other, it's kind of what it is, which if you're a Michigan fan, it might want to give you a little cause for pause. But right now, Michigan is the one carrying the banner for all of the Big Ten. Were you surprised at how bad the Big Ten did that first weekend?
No, because of the fact that when we talked about it, we said those are kind of high seeds, man. 1 and 2, I felt like people just really viewed the competition level in the Big Ten because of the fact that there wasn't really too many non-conference games. They just way overvalued the Big Ten, and it shook out. It bared its fruit. It reared its ugly head in the first week with all the upsets. I was really surprised at Illinois. That was a crazy upset. Ohio State, disappointing. Everyone's brackets busted, but at least we got some good storylines, and at least one Big Ten team made its way through. I have to be frustrated. I have to be totally frustrated because the seas parted. It literally could have been an Elite Eight run for Michigan State based on where they went. They could have handled it. They could have advanced and not play big-time opponents. It's unbelievable how they choked it away. But for Michigan, kudos to them. And the thing that everybody would have wanted has occurred. Juwan Howard has stepped up, and you're getting some quality performances from players that you would not expect. And against LSU, I thought potentially that LSU was going to go on and win the game and perform, but unfortunately, their coaching fell well short. When Michigan was making their runs, the coach just kind of was like, let them play it. Let them keep bricking shot after shot. Shot after shot, and I was like, you could call a timeout. You could set a play here for a guy to hit a three. You could kind of stop Michigan's momentum, but instead you're just going to let Michigan do their thing, set up in the half court, and have those stretches. I'll be honest, guys, I think LSU's the better team. They could shoot. They were athletic. They could run up and down the court. The one thing that I felt happened was their coach kind of, under the bright lights in the big stage, kind of came up short. And when Michigan made their run, which is going to happen, you're not going to continuously shoot lights out for the whole game. When Michigan had their spurts, LSU folded in the heat of the moment, which I'm quite frankly, I'm surprised. I thought that the way in which the first half went was going to progress the whole way, and it just didn't.
Yeah, look, so I think with Michigan taking out LSU, we kind of, you actually posed a great question on Twitter asking everybody what they thought about this game. And I thought LSU was going to be a tough road for Michigan to go, right? I think they're going to have their hands full with Florida State. I think out of all the teams that are left in the tournament, I think Michigan probably has the toughest route to go, just because they've got so many pitfalls. Because after you get past Florida State, if you're lucky enough to, you got to go up against a good Alabama team that legitimately could be a number 1 seed. So I think what you had was you had a good Michigan team kind of maybe get a little shell-shocked the first 5 or 10 minutes of that game, but then they really settled down. And look, this is one of those things, you lose a big guy like Isaiah Livers, right? He goes out, and then everybody's got to pick their game up, and you've got to find ways to adjust. You've got to come up with a new game plan. You've got to shuffle the deck, and you've got to try new things. And I think you've got guys that are now kind of growing into their new role, and they're trying to kind of figure it out and push those boundaries a little bit. And I think what you'll see when they take on Florida State, I think you're going to have a team that is going to that won't come out as slow, won't start as slow, and I think will get things going a little bit quicker. And I think they'll take advantage. And really and truly, this team is going to live and die with the 3 ball, which is so dangerous because once it dries up, you're done. You're done. So as long as their threes are falling, I think they'll be okay. Watch them come out, watch them work it inside to Hunter Dickinson, and watch them go away that way. But I like this team, and what gives me a little bit of hope as a Michigan fan is the fact that they were able to reshuffle that deck, able to refigure some things out, able to work in a new game plan and try to do a couple things different than they've done all season long. And they went up against some really, really good competition in LSU, and they were able to come out with a win. And that was a good game. That was a tightly contested game. It wasn't like they just rolled over anybody. I wasn't very impressed with them against, who was it, Southern Mississippi, or Southern Missouri or Methodist Baptist Church, whoever. Like, I wasn't impressed with watching that game. I was really nervous when they were going to take on LSU. I was like, oh man, like if they play like that, it's going to be a struggle for them. And what you ended up having was you had a team that, they struggled a little bit, but they came out, they kind of found their way, and they got it going. So that gives me some reason to believe in this team. That gives me some reason to believe that they're going to be able to get this done, and they're going to be able to get past a really good Florida State team, and then they're going to be able to get past a good Alabama team that seems to kind of crumble underneath the spotlight. So, look, I think Michigan has the toughest road to go to get to the Final Four, but I'm believing that they're going to get to the Final Four.
Oh, okay. So now I see here that you have decided that you have something to say to me. You're going to front on your boy, the DOC. Go ahead. I'll give you the opportunity. I'll get you a free chin to chin. Say something. What do you got to say?
Well, here's the deal, right? You were the guy. You were the one who was trolling, and you were the one who was like, well, Illinois should be the co-Big Ten champs along with Michigan, right? I mean, you've seen who Illinois lost to, right?
Oh, because you don't know what's happening. Come on now. They all tank for the money, bro. They all bet against themselves, and they all just they all did not lose because of the merits of their skills. They just were like, okay, we realize, oh man, look at these points.
I did not think we were going to go in that direction. I love how you always do this. You always shock me.
They tanked it. They didn't lose because of the merits. Come on, Illinois. They realized, dude, what's the value of playing? We can stop. I mean, literally, because they were being not treated like the women with those silly dumbbells, but they were getting tested every day. They couldn't hang with their boys. They're like, if we get out of here, if we lose, we're free and clear. We can get back to our TikToks. We can get back to our ladies. Let's just fall out of this. No big deal. No harm, no foul. It'll make for a good tournament. Let Michigan have their day. No one's going to know any better. They told their cousin, and then they're like, hey, just go put a bet on it, and boom, boom, and here we go. If it's happening in the NHL where they're like, hey, let's just call penalties on people that aren't there. Gambling has, I don't want you to bury your head in the sand and think that now that gambling is around, that everybody's all legit and it's all good and nobody's, making some money on the side here. Pfft, easy money, bet Sister Jean, bet, and take that 5-figure payday and walk away. I mean, if you don't, you can cash out for a 4-figure payday. They even let you win because I bet a 5-team parlay. And it's so awesome. You can watch the game and realize, oh, my team's going to lose, and just cash out and win something. That's really the craziest thing I've ever seen. I was like, you can watch a game, make a bet, and if it's going well, they'll give you the option to win less, but to still win. I'm like, I'm all for it. So I think that's what happened in this tournament. I really do. I think that some teams took a dive. But Michigan, look, like I said, LSU was the better team, clearly. Shooting well, playing well, organized. It's their coach, man. Their coach just realized, oh, shoot, Michigan's coming back. He should have just called a timeout on 5 different occasions because it went like you can't have 7 possessions where you miss the shots consecutively and, not have anything organized, set to stop a run, which is unbelievable that could happen. And what stinks is, it's great to have the games, but with no fans, you're missing the juice, the fun. Like, could you imagine all these upsets with people in the crowd?
Oh, it would be nuts.
It would be nuts. So while it's fun, it's not the same without the fans. And heck, you never know. Like you said, in these big games, you need people to rise up. And Michigan has those players that I think believe. And I don't think they'll get to the Final Four. I think they win against Florida State, and they'll lose probably in the next round. They get to the Elite Eight.
You think they lose to Alabama?
I think they lose to Alabama.
I think Alabama's probably going to get through.
Exactly. So it's a great run. Good for Juwan Howard. Good for the program. Everybody now is aware that Michigan has the potential to really build upon. Look, cuz this is only his second.
Who's really impressed me?
Only second year.
Just kind of come out of nowhere. Is a guy like Mike Smith. Mike Smith has really impressed me.
Absolutely. Mike Smith, Franz Wagner showed up and balled out, after struggling. And then you guys are set up for the next few years, bro. If Hunter Dickinson fills out, bro, you're looking at an unbelievable talent at center. The likes that you're not going to see in the Big Ten too often. He's a monster. Mm-hmm. But, man, bad fouls, though. He was, loose. He was just, trying to get his body all over the place. So when he gets disciplined, when he fills out his body and hulks up, forget it. You're not going to guard him. You just dump it to him and kick it out to the 3. You got yourself a title team in 2 years. Yeah. It's good. It's good.
I think everybody who's in the tournament right now, Michigan is one of those. Michigan has become a basically a blue blood when it comes to basketball, right? I mean, they've had, I think 3 Final Four runs in the last 5 years. The last 5 years, they played for 2 national championships, made it to the Sweet 16 4 out of the last 5 years. Look, this is a team that has done. We used to make jokes. We used to call it closing the gap. You remember that when they were just trying to compete with Michigan State, and I think they've at this point have taken over the state of Michigan with their basketball program. Now their football program sucks ass, but their basketball program is good.
You're right.
Juwan Howard's building a baby monster for sure.
He is, and the good thing is that there's no national powerhouse in the Big Ten right now at the moment, so you can have your opportunity. Right now, everyone's playing for second in football, so it's unbelievable in the Big Ten what's going on in regards to basketball. And I think the game will evolve. If the coaches pay attention, they have to kind of figure out how to get a little bit more athletic and figure out how to make key shots in the big game. So I can't wait for the next year as well. But this tournament's been fun. I rated a nice B+. It's been entertaining. The gambling, because it sucks because nobody cares about the bracket anymore. Nobody even talks about it. It's all, who you betting? Did you win? Did you hit some parlays? In-game action. It stinks. But the good thing is a couple people filled out some brackets, and the fun is to see what you did. Now, I took the same strategy as I always have. I just auto-filled it with one of the selections there. I think an analyst that I respected. Push the button, and it all fills out. And whatever happens, happens. And I think that's the best way to go. One of them, I think, for the listener challenge, I just picked all the favorites. And I said, well, if the committee had half a brain, they seeded this right, and of course they did not. So there's a lot of interesting teams left in the Sweet 16. One thing though, which I will say this as we get out of here, I was genuinely surprised it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday deal. I never heard it was going to start like that. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, playing game on a Thursday, big stuff on Friday. I'm like, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I was like, okay. So having the tournament start not on a Thursday officially kind of was a downer. I'm used to the playing games on a Tuesday, but hopefully they get back to the real schedule. But seeing the college tournament games on Monday was really cool. And now having a couple laptops and being able to do a split screen, stuff like that, I can catch 4 games all at the same time. So it's a fun viewing experience. It's very interesting. And I think that the NCAA tournament being around is just a small sign that things are getting back to normal. And hopefully with what's going on in Michigan, that opening day can still happen next Thursday. We'll talk about it. We'll see. And we'll break it all down next week. The big episode 400. It'll be chaotic. It'll be fun, but you know us. You love us. You know we'll have fun with it. We'll figure out a way to get it on the air on Thursday. Opening day. Detroit Tigers starting their season. Matthew Boyd. It'll be interesting to talk about. Break down, reminisce, have a good old time with it. It'll be a long one. And let's plan it. Plan for a nice hour and a half session here and just let it rip on anything we want to talk about. And for 400, hey, like you said, if we get on some video, we have a memory of it. And I can't believe it. 300 it felt like yesterday. And now we're approaching episode 400. We appreciate you guys sticking with us on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSCROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Hit us up with your agreement, disagreement, love it. If you love us, if you hate us, if you think we're trolling, if you think we're rolling, let us know. We always appreciate all the interaction. Thanks, cuz. Let's come strong next week for episode 400.